Good afternoon. My name is Sarah, here with Military Veterans in Business, and I am extremely excited to have AJ Ross Scotti as our guest today. He is a veteran, a Marine that I've always been especially fond of because of his charisma and just his overall caring for other people. So thank you for being here today, AJ.
Thank you for having me, Sarah. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your military service? What did you do in the military? What's your background?
Yeah. So Sarah, I'm a Marine Corps officer. I joined in 2001. I came in after doing a PhD stint, and I decided that wasn't the life I wanted to live. And I ended up getting an aviation candidacy and joined the military of that year, and have continued 10 years active and 9 years in the reserves, and I'm still in the reserves. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And I think you hit on a perfect introduction, because I think what drew me into the military was its servant leadership, and I've always been captivated by that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Now tell us about, so you obviously have a civilian life, and you are a founder in a company, and your specific role in that company is of chief operating officer. So could you share a bit more with us? What is the name of your company and what do you all do?
Yeah. So the name of our company is Gyrene Engineering Management. We recently started another offshoot of Gyrene called Gyrene International. And those two companies were co-founded with some military veterans and some really talented Silicon Valley engineers in the space and aerospace industry that we happen to grab hold of and keep. They've been fantastic. So combined engineers and military folks trying to develop solutions specifically for the DoD, and then while we were finding solutions for the DoD, they kind of lead to solutions for the civilian market, the private and public sector. And so we led with our first innovation. It was an atmospheric water generator that we showcased in front of the Navy and certain agencies and within the DoD, and it's gotten a lot of traction. And we've used that traction and that momentum to kind of build our company out. It's a Michigan-based service-disabled veteran-owned company, and like I said, it's a team. It's a company with a lot of great individuals, and I think that's what's
you guys are certainly a team. For those of you listen, I've had the pleasure of meeting the other team members of Gyrene, and they're definitely a cohesive team, and all of the same mindset. You know, obviously as a business, you want to make money, but they all care very much about improving the world and helping people at the end of the day. So can you tell us a little bit more about what atmospheric water generation is and how it can have an impact on the DoD and other areas in the world?
Yeah, great questions. So when we first dove into this very large problem that the DoD has, which is water supply, it was mostly because the individuals that we were around that ran into the same problems, just they wanted to solve it. They wanted to figure out how to make it better. And so the DoD has used water bottles in the past, a very inefficient form of, distributing water, supplying water to troops, both in support and in direct combat. And they also use other things, very antiquated mechanisms like water bowls, that if you take them out, all of a sudden you don't have any water. So the rudimentary problems, and that they've been trying to deal with for a long time. So the atmospheric water generator, which we nicknamed the mangrove, a bunch of different reasons we came up with, but the mangrove is a way to decentralize water operations. It gives small units the ability to make water on site. Obviously, you can't make water out of thin air, but if there's water in the air, relative humidity is high, you can pull that, condense it, and package it up, so to speak. Packaging up means do a little bit of filtration, either with ozone, with UV filtration, or you run it through a charcoal filter, and now you have potable water with the troops. We kind of coupled that with some battery systems and a reverse osmosis system to make it a system of systems, and it's taken off. It's shown merit. We're actually, our first purchase order, we wanted to sell it to the U.S. Government, but they were a little bit slow. And our brothers and sisters up north, the Canadians, yeah, imagine that, Sarah, being both service members ourselves. The Canadians actually pulled the trigger and bought the first one. So we owe them our first official military, I guess it would be a mil-spec mangrove by the end of March. So we're pretty excited about that.
Congratulations. I am so over the moon happy for you guys, because I know the journey that you all have been on. So to see it coming to fruition finally is super exciting. I'm really happy for you guys. All right, so let's get down to some lessons, some advice that you might have for other fellow entrepreneurs or transitioning veterans. What is one thing you wish you had known when you began your career? So as you've had multiple things that you've done, so pick one from the past, or you can go overall or specifically with Gyrene, but what is one thing you wished you had known?
Yeah, it's a great question. Mostly because I think you and I think know the answer to this. It's reaching out to smarter, wiser individuals before you make that leap, right? And you and I are both servant leaders in our own right, but you don't know what you don't know, and there's people out there that have already done it, and to not take advantage of those individuals as mentors, as as people that care about other veterans, and there's a lot of us out there, we know this, is kind of foolish. But I think that kind of goes hand in hand with their personality. Like military folks are like, I can do it. I can do anything. And then they're like, oh, I just fell.
And something else that I've realized too is we don't want to impose on people, right? We don't want to feel as though we're putting people out. But I have learned over the years, people want to help. They're more than happy to help, but they don't know that you need help unless you ask, unless you start talking to them about your visions, about your ideas, right? And figure out where there can be synergy and collaboration. What are your thoughts on that? The willingness to ask for mentorship and guidance.
No, absolutely. Yeah, that's you hit it on the head. There's a lot of pride. We don't want to admit that we don't know what we're doing. And I don't think, it leads itself into other things, like we're afraid of failure. That's what we want. That's what we don't want to see. We don't want to see failure. But I think if we kind of rephrase the word failure, that it means maybe it'll take on a different meaning if we rephrase it. So failure becomes a feedback mechanism. That's
a great lead in. That's a great lead into the next question. So what is your biggest failure, or to rephrase it, opportunity for feedback or lesson, right? What is the biggest circumstance where you've had a setback, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, for me, and I'm sure for many people out there, it's not one specific, I can't pinpoint me tripping over something and falling and saying, hey, that was definitely a big fall. I think I view life as just a journey full of, like I said, negative and positive feedback mechanisms. And then you pick the positive ones, and then you grow on that. And then the negative ones you look at and you're like, if I touch that burning stove again, it's me. I'm really the idiot, right? So but you don't know until you trip and fall and get up. And I think what goes hand in hand with tripping and falling is getting up. And that word is called persistence and perseverance. I guess they're combined,
right. And that's where the growth happens. Would you say so when you're tripping, you fall and you get back up and you stay persistent, that's when you're going to really experience growth, rather than staying inside the comfort zone and never taking any risks because you're too afraid to fail. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, no, you hit it on the head.
I know it's hard. I mean, sometimes I feel like I take too many risks, and then sometimes I realize, okay, well, maybe I'm playing it a little safe, and trying to figure out what that balance is all the time.
Yeah, well, we all know and love our good friend Mike Smith, and he always says,
I love Mike.
if you're not moving, you're dying, and so just move. And if you find yourself stagnant, that's really the wrong answer. The right answer is move. Whether it be juking to the left or right, or moving forward, or even pedaling backwards. To give yourself space. That's important.
But you have to have movement. And it reminds me of something that I just heard for the first time a few days ago. I may not get it accurate, but it's something to the effect of, when there's movement, right? Moving forward, backwards, sideways, right? When there's movement, there's going to be friction, and that friction, that feeling of uncomfortableness, that's when you know that you're growing, was the whole concept behind that statement. So it reminds me of what we're talking about. Okay, so you're still in the reserves, as am I. But for people that are transitioning out of, let's say, maybe they're transitioning for active duty, they're going to stay in the reserves and get a civilian career, or they're just getting out completely and heading into the civilian world. What advice do you have for transitioning service members?
I'm gonna default to the answer I gave you maybe a few minutes ago, and that's the mentorship. To find people that care, to find people that are willing to help and guide you down that path, because that path could be a tricky path depending on what opportunity you choose. If you want to stay in the service community, you want to be a fighter or a police officer, or go into the 3-letter agencies, government agencies like the FBI, or work in Homeland Security. Those transitions, I think, are a little bit easier because they're government or / social services, and there's paychecks, that are routine once you go through a quote unquote training program, and there's a little bit of comfortability with that whole environment. But if you choose things like what we choose, Sarah,
entrepreneurship,
yeah, that takes on a drastic difference, and I think that's where guidance and reaching out to mentors and people that have done it, at least done it. Maybe they failed, maybe they succeeded, but they've done it. And you can glean from those experiences, and that's a wise person, right? They're taking that information from people that have at least probed.
right. And as a reminder, to those watching, as we were saying, a few minutes ago, people want to guide, they want to help. You just have to be willing to ask. Find somebody. If you're interested in a particular industry or area, find somebody who's already in that industry. Find a veteran who is in that industry and ask them about their journey and how they did it and what they would have done differently. You don't have to go it alone and figure it out from scratch. I think, was it you, AJ, or somebody was saying, pretty much everything's been done before. It's finding out how to do it better, right? But that doesn't mean that you have to reinvent everything. Okay.
Yeah. No, I love that statement.
What are the best resources that have helped you along the way?
Yeah. So I thought it would be a skill set. When I first came out of the blocks, I thought it was I need to develop project management experience, or I need to showcase a certain skill and then push that skill. But for me, and I think this lends itself to a lot of, I don't want to say soft skills, but I'm going to use that, skills that don't include a lot of calculations, which most of the world, those soft skills are very important because it's relationship building. And that relationship building is really important because it goes hand in hand with the word trust, right? And if you trust someone, then it lowers the barrier to doing work and moves a system forward and pushes it forward. So I thought it was a hard skill set. And what I found was it was a soft skill set, and that was the network. The network. How do you build the network? And you were hitting on it, find someone that does what you're interested to do. And remember, life is like, it's not linear. It's not from point A to point B. And if you think that we're wackos, right? It's like a river, a tributary as it moves through the soil and then it hits a rock. And sometimes you have enough mass to go over the rock, but most of the time you have, the momentum to go around it. And I think if you view life that way and search for networks and build your network, then it's way more powerful than having just a skill set, because skill sets are great. They show proficiency. And I think most people, if they're passionate enough, they're going to be proficient at, what they love to do anyway. So.
But you got to be able to get along with people. And I don't mean get along as in you have to be everybody's friend. That's not what I mean.
Yeah.
But you have to know how to work with people, unless you just want to. And then there's people out there that want those types of jobs, right? Sitting in the room and, I'm picturing somebody on the computer just sitting in the room and by themselves in this dark room. That's probably not accurate for very many jobs, but I'm trying to showcase the differences in personalities. But for the most part, the majority of positions, you require some sort of social skill to be able to move forward, to move along and be successful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What have you read? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, sir. I was going to say, to add on to that, and I didn't really do this. Well, I did it when I was in college, but I didn't start doing it until I was in my late 30s. But taking personality tests, taking the Briggs-Myers test and figuring out where you fit in the world. What's your personality and how does your personality mingle with other personalities? The DISC. That DISC test is another one I find very fast.
It is. Oh, we can't hear you, AJ.
Oh, I must have
there you are.
Popped in and out. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Let's see. What have you read or listened to recently that's inspired you?
I try to read a lot of current trend books. What I really like to do right now is listen to podcasts. And I think I've kind of jumped on that bandwagon for the last 2 years. I try to listen to people that inspire me. And I won't lie. I've been kind of addicted to Joe Rogan and Jocko for the last 6 months during this whole.
Was that Ultimate Responsibility? Jocko Willenick. He's the one that's all about ultimate responsibility, right? Extreme responsibility. Oh, extreme ownership. What is it? He has this theme.
Oh, you mean Jocko?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's who I'm thinking of.
I don't know. I was just listening to his podcast last night with Ted Kennedy, or Kennedy. I'm not sure if I'm saying his first name right. It's the Green Beret and the Navy SEAL, sharing their words of wisdom. And I found it really interesting because they actually talked about servant leadership on that episode. And it wasn't a current episode. I think, I'll pick the ones that I really like. I'm a big history buff, so I'm always reading about history and how it pertains to the world. And I also like, I'm starting to open up the bridge to economics. In fact, I'm getting ready to, I don't know if I told you about this, I'm getting ready to apply for space resources graduate degree here at Colorado School of Mines. So we'll see if that happens.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So real quick, so speaking of that, because you're very larger than life, grandiose ideas, and when I was putting the announcement together for this, I realized that you had updated your about section on your LinkedIn, and I was really impressed with this part. Right, you know the basics about who you are, but then you said, with all that being said, I understand that a few main points can summarize my professional value. I don't care who gets the credit. I just want to be on the winning team. I have grandiose ideas. I know how to execute to turn grand ideas into reality. I'm a brain ambidextrous. I am both creative and task oriented. And I run towards chaos and fires, and I like it. I read this and I thought to myself, this is the best summary I've ever read on anybody's profile on LinkedIn. Because that sums you up as a person right there, right?
Well, I must have thought about that while I was dreaming, and I think I just got up and wrote it down. That's probably what happened there.
So talk a little bit more about this, because this was important. You don't care who gets the credit. Can you explain what you mean by that? I don't care who gets the credit. I just want to be on the winning team.
Yeah. No, you kind of touched on this a few minutes ago when you said everything in life has already been done. We're just trying to improve on it. It's like continuous improvement. And I view there's some amazing gifted individuals throughout history, and the bulk of us, I mean, to be very fair and honest, I think the bulk of us recognize who those individuals are, and we're kind of on the shoulders of giants. We're doing the work that they've kind of opened up. You need the workhorses. And so when you really understand that, you dive into that, you realize you're part of a team. So it's foolish to think that the individuals are, you might do this and this person done this, but the movement is in a general direction. And so when I say, I don't care who gets the credit, I just want to be on the winning team. I think it's more important to be on the winning team than to get the credit, because you're not the winning team, you're on the losing team.
I like that, AJ. All right. If you had to narrow down your keys to success, right? Maybe there's multiple keys, but what would you say your top key to success is?
Picking the right team. Yeah. Picking the right team, going with, I think my whole experience in life, and I'm very passionate about this part, and this is, I met you, Sarah, and I believe in you. And, we met trying to help people. I believe
we did. How long ago?
Yeah.
God, 2011 or something?
I want to say 12 or 13. Yeah, it was right around that time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but you're right. Yeah. So we came together with the intention of the goal of helping people. So sorry to interrupt you there. But okay. So if you had to narrow down your key to success.
Yeah, no, finding the right people and working with those people. That's been the key. And I think that's a general, like, if you find the right people and you work with them, because at the end of the day, business is about people. How one company or entity or group can help another company or entity group to move forward, because you're not going to do business with someone that does crappy products or services. So you got to find those right people and figure out who they are. And I think that's the most important thing, whether it be a team that you want to build as your company, or as a team that you want to work with because they're in sync with you, or they're doing something that accelerates or moves you forward.
Right. And not only so much, industry, right? Okay, so I need to collaborate with somebody like this, but also personality wise, philosophy wise, ethics wise, is always very important to me, when I'm choosing who I'm going to collaborate with and work with, even what clients I take. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the biggest challenge you have with your specific role right now? So role of COO, and how are you going to overcome it?
Oh, well, it's multiple things right now, for our company. And I'm drawing on the power and the momentum of the team. But in my position specifically, what I'm responsible for is making sure, the joke is I'm the handler. We have hackers, we have hustlers, we have handlers, we have there's little
Yeah.
words that we give in our group. I'm the handler, so I got to handle the bulk of moving information, whether it be white papers or contracts. That's my role, and to make sure that it goes. So I feel that is a very good synopsis of what I'm doing in the company. And I'm a part of the company, but we have, Mike, our CEO. He does some amazing things just like today. I mean, I wish I could explain it. As like, he called me up. In fact, he called me when I was on the phone, when I'm, on this interview, and I had to deny the call. But he's over in Michigan making things happen. Curtis is building the mangrove out of his laboratory garage.
I love it.
So these things, these things have to move, and so everyone has to be. You have to be humble enough to take jobs and push it forward and just move them.
You have to. And feedback, right? Constructive criticism. How do you grow unless, because we don't always see things the way that other people see us, right? Or situations. And so, being humble enough to accept feedback, I feel like is really key to growth and improving, and success at the end of the day. So AJ, how do you feel your military experience plays into your success as a businessman and an overall person?
I think the experiences with a diverse number of people and places and things, have allowed me and many others, to give us a good foundation, to moving into and transitioning into the civilian sector. And I think that experience, I think it's very underappreciated and undervalued by the civilian sector, because they just don't understand. But because they haven't done it, they haven't seen it, and I think that's the hardest barrier to cross when describing the talents. And really, that's what they're getting talent, because on a piece of paper, it might not say Harvard, it might not say MIT, or Caltech Poly, but it says, maybe with a small team, we put an airfield together, largest one in the history of the DoD or US Marine Corps, or something like that. And it's like, oh, I don't have that on my resume. It's like, well, maybe you should look to the talent rather than the resume. So if we can pass that along, that'd be fantastic. But I think the diversity of skills and experiences really have, done myself, a great deal of justice, but also others.
Oh, definitely. So before we close this out, I want to make sure that we remind the audience exactly what Gyrene is, and what sort of opportunities you all are looking for, and then also, are you guys hiring right now? And how can those watching, or those that will see the video at a later time, how can they help Gyrene and you guys carry the vision forward?
Yeah. So I'll answer the last question first, which is, how can you guys help a fellow, veteran company? I think that by spreading the word, and getting the message out that there's a small group of veterans mixed with talented engineers building a system to eventually decentralize water distribution. Not only in the DoD, we're actually doing that in the commercial sector right now. That's what Mike's doing. He's over there. We might have our first commercial purchase order soon. So,
that's so exciting.
yeah, spreading the word, I think, is very powerful. So, yeah, visit Gyrene Engineering Management. Actually, it's www.gyrene-usa.com. You'll get a snapshot.
Yes, I'm on there right now because I wanted to be sure to mention what your guys's I guess it would be your tagline, but it's pretty powerful. It's water, power, freedom.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you guys? Water, power, freedom.
Yeah, it's, one of the things that I've always said is if we can give the basics, the essentials to people, supply them with the essentials, which is water, power, food, and shelter, then what they do next is going to be incredibly powerful. So power, we're trying to pull in power, store it, and have that stored power be used in a way very efficiently to produce water. So power, water, those two things coupled together gives a lot of people freedom. And
absolutely,
you just look at third world countries and they don't have two of those things, and they don't have a lot of freedom.
Yes. So that's the heartfelt stuff behind what you guys are doing. Okay, what types of opportunities or introductions would you guys be interested in?
Yeah, so we're not in a hiring phase right now, but we figure our forecast, I should say, is about 6 months out for grabbing some talent, and it'll probably be first. This will go under the guidance and the auspice of Curtis, our CTO, but it's to build up our engineering clan. Make sure that our engineers and our technical staff is fantastic. So most of our hiring right now is done internally. Word of mouth, a lot of vetting internally, but we'll probably get to a point where we're going to have some outside help, bringing that talent to us, because that takes a long time to vet people.
What about opportunities for you guys that would generate revenue for your company? What sorts of, would it be? I don't know. Remind me. I mean, I know we've talked about it, but it's probably better if you explain to the audience. You said that you guys already have your first contract in Canada. Mike has a commercial application, but what sorts of opportunities, are you guys interested in exploring that could translate to revenue for you?
Darn, I'm such a knucklehead. I didn't even think about this as an opportunity to really brand us. But yeah, so we're going into a couple of different markets right now. One of the markets that we've had a lot of success in building, a story and sharing that story with those customers has been the grow industry, the indoor farm industry. So we're hitting that pretty hard. Then we're also taking a look at the RV community as well.
RV community, okay.
Yeah. So we're going into those two communities, and we're gathering data, and we're building relationships with people that are decision makers that potentially could buy our stuff. So wonderful. Yeah, it's really quite fascinating right now because we're probing. The DoD will always be there because they need this solution. And we're working with folks in the Navy, the Army, the Air Force, and the Marine Corps, all four of them right now. So, but the Canadians pulled the trigger.
Well, congratulations again on the progress, AJ, and I really appreciate you being a guest today. As a reminder to the audience, my name is Sarah Barker. Military Veterans in Business is a platform to highlight and showcase businesses that are owned by veterans, get the word out there about what they're doing, but also offer some guidance and tips to those people, you know, transitioning and considering what they want to do with their next phase in life. So we really appreciate you guys listening in today. AJ, again, thank you. Thank you so much for being a guest. You're definitely one of the people that I'm especially fond of. So I'm glad we had the chance to do this. Thanks,
Sarah. Thanks for having me. This has been fun.